Just give me a second. Is my slide visible?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, yeah. So thanks to Yossi, my alma mater LBPI, and all my referring surgeons.
Dr. Rohit, your voice is slightly not audible. If you can increase the, yeah,
Yeah. Is it audible enough now?
not much, but if you can come a bit closer.
Yeah. Is it better now?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So the first and the foremost important thing which I've learned over a period of 7 to 8 years of practice is defining the area of practice. I'm a big fan of going hyper local. First of all, it saves a lot of time. Now, for example, I'm working in a city like Mumbai, and this city, I believe, is like 5 to 6 cities put together. So if I think that I can cover the whole city of Mumbai, that would be wrong. So if I just focus on a small area, my availability increases. I save a lot of time by not traveling a lot, and it increases my patient time. Whereas if somebody is practicing in smaller towns, one can think of covering the whole town or probably the adjoining town also. But we need to realize that it takes some time, to build up a practice in a particular area or in a particular hospital, especially if you're starting with a new subspecialty practice. And as your practice grows, the traveling time eats away your practice. So you may have to give up certain hospitals where you have practiced earlier, because at some other hospitals the practice has picked up better, and that's where your hard work doesn't reap that benefits. So you have sown the seed, but the fruits are eaten up by the other person who comes in after you. That's why going hyper local makes sense. Now, what does the attachment does for you? That is something you need to define, especially if you're immediately fresh post fellowship pass out, whether it is giving you academics. Now, if you're attached to a medical college as a visiting surgeon, you can teach postgraduates, you can publish papers, whether it is giving you the additional surgical exposure which you haven't got during your fellowship or post graduation days, or it creates a name in the community. Now, if you're attached to the local community charitable hospitals, it creates a good name in the community, which ultimately translates into good practice in your private practice. And last, obviously, money part comes into consideration. Now, the most important thing which I've learned in practice is time. The time is the most precious commodity. I remember early on in my practice, one of my contemporary retina colleague had left from one of the hospitals I had recently joined, and to my surprise, that hospital was really giving good amount of remuneration. And I happened to meet him in a conference, and I asked him, "What made you leave that attachment?" And he told me, "Rohit, it was not valuing my time, because the traveling time I was spending to reach that hospital was huge." And he told me, a few years down the line, you will also be deciding whether to value a particular attachment or not. So it's important to understand the value of time. That's why restrict your visiting days. Learn to say no to the attachments which may not be for long term. And I would recommend no attachment should be twice a week if you're freelancing, probably once a week. And give time to develop your own practice, and you will get other opportunities as your experience grows. So if you have some time in hand, additional time in hand, it is easier to pick up more fancier attachments later. And on the topic of remuneration, when we are young, freshly passed out, we are looking out for work, and we are ready to work at a lower cost also. But can you put a value to your time? And these are the few things which I have learned over a period of few years. One is a notional value, and other is wage per hour calculation. Now, notional value is, if I target, let's say I value my per day earnings at 1 lakh rupees, and I am working for 10 hours a day. So per hour, my value is 10,000 rupees. So if I join an attachment, are they giving me enough patience and work to generate 10,000 rupees as a surgeon fees? That's the notional value I put it on my time. Now, wage per hour calculation is going to come in the subsequent slides, and always take traveling time into consideration. So, hospital or an attachment may be paying you fabulously well, but if it takes half a day to reach that hospital, trust me, it is not worth joining that. And be frank in the beginning about remuneration. So initially, when we are juniors, when we speak to senior directors, we may be taken for a ride. So if you're clear, speak to your senior colleagues about how the remuneration works in a particular city, because it can change from place to place, and be frank with your expectations. Now, this is an example how your wage per hour calculation works. So you can calculate your monthly average salary, divide it by the number of days. Let's say 25 days are the working days in a month, and then you can calculate the per daily salary and divide it by the number of hours you put in every day. So this will help you understand which attachment is paying you more than the average, which attachment is paying you less than the average. And it's okay to continue with the attachments which are paying you less than the average, because they may be giving you something more, like academics or name in the community, which in the long run may make a big impact. And another thing, especially in big cities, is the choice to do subspecialty practices with solo practitioners, or join corporate multi-specialty hospitals. Now, corporate hospital, I mean not corporate ophthalmology setups. I mean corporate hospitals where you have cardiology, orthopedics, nephrology all into one. So they look, these big hospitals attachments look fancier on visiting cards, but they may not have huge subspecialty load. They may be okay for a comprehensive ophthalmology practice, but in my experience, solo practitioners provide more high quality specialty cases, and also surgical conversions are more, because there's a touch of that person who's practicing over there, who's convincing the patient that you're the best person to operate for that particular condition. And corporate hospitals most of the times don't pay well. They have a lot of hidden charges like bed charges, visit charges, admission charges, which are not there when you're practicing, doing it in a smaller setup. So the ultimate surgeon remuneration out of that fat fee the patient pays is very less. There are certain advantages obviously with freelancing, is that there are multiple sources of income, and the patient flow is from multiple places. So if one of the hospitals is not doing at a particular time well, the other hospital's income compensate for the overall net monthly flow. And it increases the outreach. You're able to meet different people from different strata of the society. A lot of people start knowing you. You get to interact with other doctors. Your referral base increases. But my two paisa aka, my 2 cents on this is, own practice is most rewarding. I have transitioned from just doing freelancing retina and uvea practice to slowly starting up my own practice. And I am able to provide a much more better quality of care. There are standardized protocols which I am following, and I can see a drastic difference in the surgical outcomes as well. And ultimate goal of for most of us is to have our own patient base, because the referral surgeons preferences may change over time. Some of the centers which are well paying,
1 minute remaining, sir.
yeah, their kids may join back, so the things may change in a few years. So if you have a own patient base, it makes a whole lot of difference in practice, and this gives us the maximum